I was trying to explain something else like comments, okay? Comments. What do we do? In order to, I told you earlier that comments are used in Python programming or in any other kind of programming. You use comments to indicate, you use comments to explain a part of your code to yourself. Like, okay, with the use of comments is like, because you're going to be having, by the time there's going to be a time where you will have a lot of lines of code, thousands of them, okay? And then even you yourself that wrote the code, you might get lost. You might get lost in your own code that you wrote. So in order to avoid you getting lost, what you do is that it is very important that you put some notes along the line of your code. You understand it now? I can put a note like this. I put hash. I say hash. This part explains the use of print statements. Okay. So now what I just did here is that I just successfully told Python that, okay, told myself that this part of my code explains the use of print statements. It's a note that you wrote to yourself. Then you can understand. I believe you get that. So when I'm running, anytime I'm running the program, the moment I run the program, Python will ignore it. It will ignore everything I wrote here. It will not see it as part of the code because it is only a note that you wrote to your own self. Python will not see it as part of your code. You understand? So it only sees the other parts. So one of the use of comments is to label your part of your code, or to put a note on your code, or you understand it now, or to document your code so that you will know what every part of your code is working for. So that if another person else also wants to check the code, the person too will be able to understand exactly what you're trying to say. It will understand everything that you did. He will understand everything that you did because your code is well documented. And documenting a code also helps you to, another advantage of documenting a code is also that it makes you to be able to debug your code easily. So that if you run the code and there is an error somewhere, it can help you to detect the possible place where the error is, because it's just as if I know every part of my car, and so if I try to start my car and my car is not starting, I know exactly where to go and check. If my car is not starting, I cannot go and start checking the headlamp, or I will start checking the back seats. You know that's the wrong place to check. But because I know that, okay, I try to start the car and the car is not starting, I know the possible areas to go and check that might cause that problem. So straight up, I'll just open the bonnet and go straight to my coil. I know that it's possible that the coil is burnt, and that is the reason why the thing is not starting. If I check the coil and the coil is perfect, then another possible place I can check is maybe any part of the brain box to see whether the wiring is perfect, is working fine, or anything else. I'm just using that as an example anyway. You understand it now? So whenever you run your code and your code is not running properly, depending on the error that it brings, it makes you to know exactly where to go. But that is more useful for a compiled program. That is when your program is being run by a compiler, but Python is being run by an interpreter. So because it's being run by an interpreter, it tells you exactly where the problem is, and it will point to the place before it even starts doing anything else. By the time it gets to that line where there is a problem, it will stop there. But if it is the compiler, a compiler will run the whole program and bring out in bulk all the errors. So it is now up to you to start locating where those errors are. And that is where documentation of your program becomes important, because by the time you document every part of your code, you understand that it tells you yourself or tells anyone who is studying your code what every part of your code is doing. So whenever there is a fault, you know exactly where to go to rectify the problem, because you have already labeled every part of your code. So you know where to go. Okay, what is the compiler saying? The compiler is telling me so kind of error. And now this kind of error only happens to this kind of code. Then you know exactly where to go, and then you correct it. So it makes it very easy for you. So it's very important to document code, and comments is used to document your code. That is to label every part of your code, so that you yourself will not be lost in your code, or someone else will also be able to understand exactly what you are doing. So, for instance, this example says this part explains the use of print statements. So it means that even though you are a stranger to my code, by the time you enter my code, you understand that okay, from year to year is explaining the use of print statements, and you get the gist. You get it now. So that's how it works. So, apart from the fact that comments help you to comments help you to um, it helps you to label your code. Apart from that fact, another thing it does is that it can also help you to deactivate some part of your code. Okay, for instance, if I don't want line number 3, if I don't want, for instance, like if I don't want line number 6 to run, line number 6, I don't want it to run. Okay, what will I do? I can hashtag this place. I can just hash it. You see that automatically that place has changed color. If I don't want this second one too to work, if I don't want line number 3 to work, I will just put the hash there, and immediately the color will change. The moment it sees the hash, whether you put a space or not, it's still the same thing. It will still work fine. Okay. The moment it sees that hash, immediately it knows that you don't that place is a comment. So it sees it as a comment. Therefore, when the program is running, it's going to ignore those parts. It's going to skip those parts. So you see now that those parts are skipped. You see, the 7 that we add there is the result of 5 plus 2. Immediately after 5 plus 2, you have immediately after that 7, you have 10. 10 is the result of 5 times 2. You skip these parts. You skipped it because that place you have commented it out. Then number 6 too, you commented out this one. So Emmanuel is a teacher is not going to appear anywhere in our console. You see that it is not there. So which means that if you wish to deactivate some part of your code, maybe for testing purpose, you want to test, maybe you are trying to check where error is. So you can choose to like, okay, let me deactivate this part, let me deactivate this part, let me see if this place is where the error is coming from. You understand? And so you can use it in the process of your program testing to check for error. That is in process of debugging your program. Okay. So when you want to debug your program, it's easy for you to you can use this hash stuff, to the comment stuff to debug your program, just to see, okay, fine, let me deactivate this part and see whether this is where the problem is coming from. And if you deactivate it and you run your program and your program runs fine, then it means that that's truly where the problem is coming from. Then you can now correct the issue and then activate it back by removing the hash. You see that the moment I remove the hash, the color came back. Okay, so if I remove the hash from here too, the color will come back. So that is how to do it. And then you can also place it anywhere in your code. For instance, if I want to put a note here, I can just put hashtag and say this line will display, or this line asks Python to display the word Emmanuel. Okay, so you can use it as a note, you can use it for anything you like. It works fine, no problems. You get it? So that's how it goes. So that's comments part 1. Comments part 2. This is a comment that I did using hashtag. There's another comment. This kind of comment is called a single line comment. The single line comment is used when you want to comment only one line of your code. But double line comments, multi-line comments is used when you want to comment more than one line. For instance, now, if I want to comment out this part, I want to deactivate from line number 6 to line number 12. I want to deactivate it. All I just need to do, okay, is to put I'm coming, sorry. Sorry, hold on for me. So whenever you want to whenever you want to do a multiple line comment, okay, what you are going to do is that in the first place you put a slash, like a backward slash. Um, you put a backward slash, and then you put this. And so when you do that, the other place that you want to the other place that you want to use it, okay. Although in this one that I'm trying to use now is used in stuff like C++ and all that, okay. So, but if you want to use it in Python, okay, what you are going to do, is it backward slash or forward slash? Oh my God, sorry, it's not it's not backward slash, it's forward slash, okay, it's forward slash. Then you use, sorry, the forward slash is found beside that's below the question mark, okay. So you just put the forward slash, put the star, okay, and then the other parts where you want to close it. Maybe I want to comment. Maybe I want to comment everything from here to here. Okay. Then you have it like and there is also a shortcut to that anyway. Okay, so you go to the place where the last place where you want to do it. I think I've been coding on C++ recently. Oh God, sorry. I've been coding on C++ recently. It's been long. I did a bit long. I did Python. I'm putting them for each other. Please, you're not using this one here. Sorry. For Python, you have two methods of doing your multi-line this thing. You have two methods of it. It's either you cover everything like this, okay. Excuse me, sorry. It's either you cover everything like this, right, and then you put erased it. Cover everything like this, and then you put this thing, three of these single quotes. You press the single quotes, you press like three of it, 1, 2, 3. The moment you press three of it, everything will comment out. You see that everything here has turned green because as far as Python is concerned, everything from year to year is not going to be run by the program. It's only run line number 2 to line number 5, and then also line number 16 and 17. So let's try it out. By the time you run it, you are going to see only 5 results. You see, only 5 results. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, because you have commented out all of these parts. Okay, you have commented out all of these parts from line number 6 to line number 15. If you remove these 3 single quotes, you remove it, everything will return to normal. Okay, everything will return to normal. That's method 1 of multi-line comment. Method 2 is to type it manually. For instance, now this line number 6, maybe line number 6 from number 6 to 8, I want to comment it out. You just press these 3 quotes, 1, 2, 3, single quotes 3 times, and then you go to line number 8, single quotes 3 times again, 1, 2, 3. By the time you do that, you see that everything from line number 6 to line number 8 is out. Everything turns green. So which means Python is not going to run those parts. If you use the hash tag, it is going to turn gray. That one is single line comments. If you use the 3 single quotes open and close, that one will be green, showing multi-line comments. Multi-line comments means that you are commenting more than one line, and you can also use it to comment only a single line too, if you like. For instance, you can just come here and just put it there, and it will comment only line number 6, and everything is fine. But I think that would be stressful when you can just simply use hashtag. You just use the hash, okay? You just use the hash, then it goes out. You understand? So when you just use the hash, everything goes out. But if you don't want to use the hash, you can also use this thing where you put its opening and closing. So the one at the beginning here is the opening, and then this one is the closing. So anywhere the thing closes at, that is where the commenting will stop. So you come here, or maybe you come here, you put it there, 1, 2, 3. Every other thing from here, everything from here to here is out, because this is where the starting is, this is where the ending is. And you can also put it on a separate line. You can also do like this, and then do like this. It will still work fine, just for readability. So just you are telling Python that from here to here, everything is commented out. So Python is not going to run it. It's going to skip everything there and only run the other ones that are colored. So somebody is trying to ask a question.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I just wanted to run it, but I'm okay.
All right, good. So that is how to do multiple line comments. Single line comments is the hash. You use hash for single line comments. For multi-line comments, you use single quotes 3 times. It must be 3. If it's not up to 3, it will not work. So let's experiment it with only 2. You see that it didn't work. Everything returned back to normal. But if you complete it as 3, and then you put this on to 1 more, so that everything will change. Okay, so that's how it goes. If you like, put it on separate lines, so that every other thing will be in between. No problem. It's still going to work. And if you like, put it on top of the same line with the first one, and you put it on the same line with the last one. No problem. It will still work. It will still work. The thing is just that the guy just needs to see that there is a starting and there is an ending. Okay, and everything in between will be commented out. I believe I have made myself clear enough. Any other question? All right. In the absence of no questions, then we can proceed. So I've taught you 2 things now: how to use the print statements. I've also taught you how to use the comments. Okay. So the next thing that I'm teaching you now is the use of variables and constants. Variables and constants. What are variables? So all these things that you have, whether it is a number or it is a string, they are called constants. Number is called a numeric variable, while the string is called a non-numeric variable. Numbers are called numeric constants, while the ones that are not numbers are called non-numeric constants. Numbers are called numeric constants, while the ones that are not numbers are called non-numeric constants. Okay, which is otherwise called strings. Okay, which are these ones that we've been dealing with here. They are all strings. Okay, so but this too is a number, but it's a string, so you can rather call it numeric string. It's allowed. You understand that? Which means it is a string, but it's a number. This one is a non-numeric string. Okay, because it's not a number and it's a string. Do you get it now? So this one is a numeric string because it's a number, but it's a string. Having quotes around it makes it a string. Without quotes, it's just an ordinary number. So it becomes a numeric constant if it is without string. That's why the color is orange. All numbers are presented in orange in this particular IDE. You understand? So that's how it goes. Do I still have Blessing online?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm still here.
All right. So now, after that, let's move on. So now I want to explain to you variables. I've already explained constants along the line. When I say constants are stuff that don't change. Okay, they are just what they are along the line of the program. They are just what they are. Do you understand? So Emmanuel is Emmanuel, 5 is 5, 2 is 2, all of that, they are constants. Okay, but then we have some other parts that change, they do change. Okay, the values that they contain, they have the ability to contain values, and the values that they contain can change at any time. And that is the reason why we call them variables. These are the stuffs that work as your x and your y in programming. You say, if I say, for instance, if I say x is equal to 5, what I have just done here, I have declared a variable x, which means I have declared to Python that please, in your memory, create a space and name that space as x. Then that space, please let it contain the number 5. Okay, so if I do not assign anything to it, if I just say x and I come here and just say y, okay, it is not good for Python, but it can be good for Java. In Java, you can declare a variable and then use the variable later and assign a value to it later. Okay, but you cannot do that in Python. In Python, immediately as you are assigning you are declaring the variable, you must assign a value to it instantly. So when you say x is equal to 5, yes, this one is complete. If I run this program like this, Python will not complain about line number 19, but it will complain about line number 20. Okay, I think the first complaint is line number 17, which is, what happened in line number 17? Okay, because I've removed the quotes, and it says that you cannot concatenate a number with a string, an integer with a string. So I think that settles. Let's run into number. You see that the next complaint is line number 20. See, it's complaint about line number 20. Okay, why? Because I only assign y, I did not give it a value. So the guy is like, okay, who y help? Okay, why they here say who he help? Why is not helping anybody? If y is just there, no values assigned to it. So what is it doing there? Do you understand it now? So in order to avoid that trouble, you must assign a value to y. You can say y is equal to 7. So when you say x is 5, y is 7, no problem. So this x that you are saying here is a variable. Y is a variable. Okay? Then this is a variable that contains the value 5. This is a variable that contains the value 7. Which means that if I say print x plus y, okay, then if I run the program, it is going to add up the contents and give me the result, which is 12. You understand? I want there to be space. Okay, good. So if I run it now, because I want to separate the answers of this one now from the one that we have previously. So you see that the answer is 12 because Python already knew. You have already declared to Python earlier that x is 5 and y is 7. So anytime you run the program, say print x plus y, then Python, you are telling Python that, okay, please pick the value of x and the value that is contained in y, add the two of them and give me the results. Do you understand it now? So now if you can also do some few things. For instance, I can say print, I can say Sade is, then I put I can put a space. Okay, Sade is, I can put a space, then I say, I put a comma here and say x, years old. Okay, so what do you expect here? Sade is x years old. Okay, if I run the program, because I already know, okay, sorry, I omitted the comma here. All right, so let me run the program now. Okay, so this one says Sade is 5 years old, just because we already know that x is 5, and then it goes and brings it out. But if you take note of something here, I put a comma, here, okay? The rule is that anytime you want to, if you are putting your stuffs inside an argument, if you are making an argument, okay, for a print statement, if you must always separate the string from the variable using a comma. Whether you are coming from the string level onto a variable, okay, you put a comma immediately after the last string before you write the variable. Or whether you are going from variable back to string, you must also put a comma in between the last variable and the string that follows it. If you don't put the comma, it will not work. So apart from the comma being a separator or being an indicator that you are switching from string level to variable level, or from variable level to string level, apart from the comma indicating to Python, that alerting Python that you are making that kind of switch, another thing it does that is that it helps you to create a standard spacing. So the comma will put a space. So even though you write everything together, it's still going to give you normal space. So let's run it. You see, even though I wrote everything together, like immediately after the last string, I put a comma, and immediately I wrote X, and immediately I put comma, and immediately I follow it by another string without putting space. Even with that, Python will still put its own space in between, okay? Because apart from the comma working as something that alerts Python that you are switching from a string to a variable, okay, and then or from variable to string, apart from the fact that you are alerting, the comma alerts Python, it also creates a standard spacing. So those are the two functions of the comma. It alerts Python and also creates a standard spacing. Yeah. Who is asking a question?
Okay, my question is, what if you want to make that Sade is come out as a quoted
Okay,
statement, like
statement.
yeah,
Okay, no
like
problem.
that number?
If you want to do that, no problem. What you just do is that you can just put a single quote outside of it, just one and another single quote like this, and then by the time you run it, okay, it's going to have it like this, like a quoted statement. Is that okay?
Okay, I got. Yeah.
So if I want this one to carry those single quotes the way it is, I can just come here and put double quotes there, put double here, and put double here, run it, and then you have it like this. Because
Okay,
just
okay,
because I want the single quotes to appear in my results, then I can cover it
okay,
with double quotes, so that the double quotes indicates that it is a string, and then the single quotes in between is regarded also as a string along with the other words, so everything appears together as strings.
okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome. So, all right, now I believe we are picking up, we are getting it. So, and then mind you, the space between print and the bracket may not be relevant. If you put a space here and you run the program, it's still going to get the same thing. It's still going to work fine. So it doesn't matter. Although PyCharm has an issue with that, but this one does not have any issue with that. I mean, this IDE that we are using. So, all right. Now I have explained what a variable means. Okay. So another thing again about variable is that variable does not necessarily need to be only X or Y. It can be anything. It can even be a name. You understand? I can say age is equal to 30. Okay? Gender is equal to maybe female. I can say height. Height is equal to 20 inches. And you know that inches is like this, like this. So it has to appear. So because I want to indicate inches, in my result, I need to use single quotes because inches is represented in double quotes. So I have to use single quote to cover it as a string. So now I'm just trying to like write a profile of someone. The person's name, the person's name is Shade. Please, if you don't put a quote around Shade, you are confusing Python. But to let Python know that this is a string, then you put a quote around it. Alright? Because if you don't put it there, it will look as if it's also a variable. Because variables are written in white. So Shade, it will also think that Shade is also a variable. So it's as if you are putting a variable to a variable. That's what it will think. But in order to avoid that confusion, just put it in a quote. Either single or double quote is fine. Alright? But these inches, now, since you want to indicate inches always come out with a double quotation mark. So in order to avoid confusion, you put a single quote around it to indicate that it is a string. So that everything here from here to here will come out exactly the way it is, without issues. So now, I've gotten all these ones. Okay. So we have name is Shade, age is 30, and gender is female, height is 30 inches. I can put a statement with it. I can say print, okay, my name is okay, sorry. My name is, you put a comma. Now you want to indicate a variable, put the variable name, okay, and you also put another comma. Alright, my name is, you get that, then you put the variable name. I'm still going to tell you something about variable anyway after this. So my name is name, okay, and then you put a quote, a single quote, I am a, you put comma, you write gender, okay, comma again, and then, sorry, with the height of okay. So if I run this program, what do you expect I have? It says my name is name. This place I put name. Who can tell me what's going to enter there when I run the program?
Shade.
Shade is going to enter there. Good. Then I am a, this is a string. So because I want to indicate another variable, I need to put a comma. So the next variable comes in, which is gender, and that's is. So what do you think the computer is going to write here?
Female.
Good.
Female.
Good. So now because I want to switch from another string, I want to string from variable to string mode, I need to put comma again. Then you come here, and then you type in the string. So what strings do I have here now?
30.
30.
Hmm?
30 inches.
Sorry, the variable that I have
30
there
inches.
is 30 inches, right? So when you run the program, it's going to give you
Right.
exactly that thing. Oh, I think I made a mistake somewhere. Height. Okay, sorry. The height that I used here is capital H, but the height that I used here is small letter h. You see that the guy said he did not recognize it. You see it is not defined.
Yeah.
So the Python is very case sensitive, especially when it comes to variables. So you have to put and variables and all those reserved words too. So you put capital H, and then by the time you run the program, it's going to run fine. It says my name is Shadi. I'm a female with a height of 30 inches, and that's how it goes. So you see that it's really straightforward. Okay, so now that is that. I've just finished teaching you about variables. Variables contain things, but really, why do we call them variables? You see, um, I can say, I can do something like this. Maybe I said x is equal to 5, or let's say, what I can say, let me use another thing. P is equal to 10, and then Q is equal to 2. P is 10, Q is 2. If P is 10 and Q is 2, I can say R is equal to P plus Q. I can say R equals to P plus Q. So if I say R equals to P plus Q, I can say print R. No problem, it's fine. We all know that P is 10, we know that Q is 2. So when we say R is P plus Q, which means that will be 10 plus 2. We expect R to be the result of this one. And so we now say print R. So when you say print R, you run it, you're obviously going to get 12 as your answer, which is this 12 that you have here. No problem. Okay, now, what if we say um, P is equal to P equals to P plus R? Do you think I'm making any mistake here? If I say P is equal to P plus R, am I making any mistake there?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Why do you think so?
This sensitivity, right?
No, I think everything is in small letter. Everything is fine. Everything is easy.
And good dot each. Good dot.
What am I going to do? You think there's going to be any problem with this line 35 by the time I run the code?
No.
There won't be problem, right? The correct answer
Yes.
is that there won't be problem because it's a variable. The value can change. Okay. P that we know
Okay.
as at this place, as at this place, P was 10, right?
Yes.
Even as at this place too, P is still 10. Even as at
Yes.
this place, P is still 10, right?
Okay.
But when you
Yes.
say P is equal to P plus R, the last value of P, which is 10, is what you are going to have here, okay? Plus R, which is 12. So by the time you say 10 plus 12, 10 plus 12 will be 22.
22.
That 22 is now going to be the new value of P now. So the P here is the P that came with its initial value from the beginning. But the new P that we have here on the left-hand side is only waiting for some mathematics to happen here. And then the new answer of P becomes stored here. So after line 35, P is no longer the 10 that we used to know. P now becomes 22. You understand? So we see now, if you run the program, you say print P. Then if you run the program, see what you get. You see 22. The P that was 10 before has now changed to 22. That is the reason why we call things like this, we call them variables, because they have the ability to change values. They can be a particular value now and be another value later, no problem. You understand? It doesn't change anything about them. The only thing is just that the value have changed. So they are still, that's why they call them variables. Do you understand? So to even tell you that P has changed, if you come to the next line and say print P minus 2. You know, 22 minus 2 will give us 20, right? So let's see if it works. By the time you run it, you see that you are going to have 20. And this was the same P that was 10 earlier. Now it is acting as 22, just because its life has changed with the help of line 35. Okay? So when you say print P minus 2, it sees that it as 22 minus 2, then you still get your correct answer, which is 20. So that's the reason why we call them variables. Their values can change. But all these ones that their values cannot change. 10, 2, blah, 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 the value cannot change. Do you understand it now? So the values can change if they are variables. The values cannot change if they are constants. Constants are just constants. But variables, you must assign values to variables for you to activate them, for them to be alive. Otherwise, Python will not recognize them. And variables is not only number, only letter alone. It can be anything. For instance, I wrote name here as a variable, and then that's Shade. I wrote age as a variable, that's 30. Can be anything. Anything can be a variable. So variables are generally written in white color according to this idea. Okay. So then there is something I want you to also bring to your notice, please. As far as variables are concerned, it is just a good programming practice to avoid using capital letter to start a variable. You will soon understand the reason why later on, by the time we advance into some areas. Okay, but for now, just know it like it is just advised. It is only advised. It is best advised that you. It is best advised that you always use use small letter to start a variable. Okay, always use small letters to start a variable. That is the advice. Always use small letters to start variable. Okay, so instead of me saying age, I'll just say small letter age. Okay, and age is equal to 35. Okay, now what if you want to use two words to represent a single variable? For instance, my streets. Instead of saying my height, okay, it is also forbidden in variables, very very forbidden, to write two variables, to put space between variables. You don't put spacing between variables. Instead of putting spacing between variables, you rather put this. You separate them with this, and it's fine. Okay, use underscore. Or another way you can do it again is by using camel casing. Camel casing is the first letter of the word will be the first letter of the first word will be small letter, but the first letter of every other word will be capital letter. For instance, if I say my real name, this is what we call camel casing. Okay, we call this camel casing. Let me put it in front. What you have here is called the use of what you have here is the use of underscore. Okay, here you are using underscore. That's what you have here. Please, I must quote this one, otherwise it will bring out an error. Okay, so the use of underscore. Then what I have here is called the use of camel casing. Camel casing is because it looks like the back of a camel. You know the back of a camel has galloping. If you see camels, their back has gallops. So all of these things are like the gallops. Okay, it looks like gallop. The rule for camel casing is that you always start with small letter, then subsequently capital letter will start them. That's how it goes. Start with small letter, then subsequently every other new word will start with the capital letter, just to separate the words. So you can say, okay, my real name. Okay, you can also do the same thing by saying my real name. No problem, it still works fine. Do you understand it now? So my real name is fine. Both of them are fine. Jimmy, you have a question?
Excuse me, in line 42 is the use of underscore too.
Yes, please. This is an underscore. You can use underscore to separate each word in your variable name, or you use camel casing to separate each word in your variable name. But it is forbidden to put space in between the words in your variable name, because it will mean something else to Python. It will arouse an error. So that's why you don't do that. I believe that is clear to you. Is that clear? Is that clear, Jimmy?
Yeah.
So, all right. So these are rules for using variables. Okay. Rule number 1 is that it's better to start each variable name with a small letter. Rule number 2, you don't put space. But instead of you putting space, you use either the underscore to separate each word, or you use camel casing. to separate each word. So those are the rules that have to do with variables. Okay, and then variables can be a single letter and it can be a line of words. It doesn't matter. It just that you can use anything you can remember to represent a variable, so that whenever you want to use them in your program, you will not have to start racking your brain like, oh, I don't forget which I used to do. They represent this thing. No, you use anything you can remember. For instance, now instead of me, if I want to represent somebody's age, instead of me saying x is equal to 35, I would rather say age is equal to 35, so that I will remember that that is what I used. I remember that it is age that I used to represent. So any part of the program where you want to refer to the person's age, you know exactly the word to call, so that you won't be having mix-ups. So it's far better to do it that way. I believe you understand the whole thing. It's far better to use names that you can remember to represent your variables, so that you will not have problems using them at a later time. So that is that. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to teach you tonight, I'm going to teach you about data structures. No, not data structures. Data types. I'm going to teach you data types. Okay? There are 4 data types. Data types. Okay, in Python, the data types that is recognized in Python, we have number 1, we have strings. Like what I've showed you what strings are, right? They are just either characters or a word or anything, and you always put quotes around them to show Python that they are strings. Okay, after strings, another type of data that we have is numbers, which is integers, rather. Integers. Okay, we have strings, we have integers as data type. Okay, integers are whole numbers. Any number that does not have a decimal, that does not have any fractional parts, is called an integer. Okay, example of integer, we have number 2, number 3, number 60, number 100, number 5,000, all of these things and so on and so forth. They are integers. Okay, because they don't have any decimal, they don't have any fractional parts, they are integers. Do you understand? So the other type of data that we have, okay, we have floats. So small letters. But then, okay, let me write the way you should write it. Small letter. Okay. This one too, small letter. Okay. Then we have floats. We have string. We have integer. We have floats. Okay. Floats means numbers with fractional parts. Numbers with fractional parts, that is, or if you don't want to use the word fractional, you can use decimal. Just like in computer, decimal still means something else. Okay, so numbers with fractional or decimal parts, that's what we call floats. So we have string, okay, we have integers, we have floats, and the last one that we have is boolean. Okay. We have the boolean data type. Okay, the boolean data type is has only 2 values. Okay, the 2 values that it has is either yes or no. The 2 values of the boolean data, oh sorry, not yes or no, I'm sorry about that, please. True or false. True or false. Okay, so the Boolean data type, so the Boolean data type has only two values, true or false. You are going to see where we use them. You are going to see the usage later on, because I cannot explain it without an example. Okay, but you are going to get it. Okay, let me just give you an example anyway. Let me give you an example of where you can get the Boolean data types, used. Like the simplest example, if I say print, if I say print, mhm, and I say x, sorry, and I say 3 is integer. No. Will this work? Okay, let me just run it. I think let me run it for sure. Okay. The guy is telling me it is false. Oh, and it's actually true. Okay. So it says print 3 is integer. So the thing we check is 3 truly an integer. If it is truly an integer, then it will write true. If it is not an integer, it will write false. But yes, because of the way I wrote it, that's the reason why it gave me a wrong answer. But that is not, the answer it gave is not correct. Okay, so let me look for another kind of example that I can use here. Let me say, because the examples I would have used, we have not done classes that goes there. That I can. So I don't want to go into something we have not done. So and I will now have to start explaining all over again. I don't want. So I'm looking for something simple that is still around what we have covered so far. I'm coming. Let me see. Okay. Man. Okay. Let's do it this way. If I say, um, anyways, you saw it bringing out false earlier, right? So those are the values of a Boolean data type. Boolean data types are either true or false. Don't worry, we are going to get there where we will make use of all these things, where all these things come to play. Okay, so just leave it the way it is for now. Just understand that there's something we call Boolean data type, and then the value of the Boolean data type is always true or false, either of the two. And that is that as for that. Okay. All right. So those are the 4 data types that we have. We have strings. I have explained that to you before. Let me just put it here. That is non-numeric integer. Oh, sorry, non-numeric constants. Non-numeric constants are called strings. Can be called literals. So it can be a word, like a letter, a character, a word, or a group of words. Okay, so call them strings. All right, I think that is where we call it a day. If you have any question again, please, you can just put it through to me. I've told you the types of data types that we have. I'm going to explain. We are going to use all of these things by the time we start doing some real good coding. Okay, so these are just all the types of data that are considered in Python. Okay, when you do Java, we have more than that in Java. So, any question? before we call it a day.